there, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today we are going to be making 2 baby cards. This is a commission that I've received from the lady that I actually made the nursery card for all those years ago, and if you haven't seen that, I would definitely recommend you pop back and take a peek at that as well. So I'm starting off just showing you the paper packs that I've going to be using. This is actually a company I haven't heard of, but I'm sure they're well known. It's called First Edition, and I got their baby girl and baby boy paper pads, and I'm just flicking through to show you how gorgeous they are. There's some really nice papers, really nice quality to them as well, and different types of paper. You've got the foiling plus normal papers, etc., and also different feel to the papers. Some of them are almost like a linen, which is really nice. So I've picked out a few different sheets. Quite a lot of them are double-sided, which is going to be really helpful. And I've also got this hunky-dory A3 cardstock, which is going to be really helpful. You all know that I can make my 8x8 cards using my easy peasy card method, and if you haven't seen that and you don't have the large pieces of card to make an 8x8 card with, then I will pop my easy peasy card method videos on the blog post for you. So I'm just literally cutting these down to obviously 16 by 8, but I can't quite do that in one go because the long side won't fit into my guillotine, so I'm going to fold the pieces in half. I've cut one side to the 16 and then I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to chop it down from that point to make the 8x8 card, which is actually quite good because you definitely get a nice even cut then, so both sort of the back and the front are absolutely perfectly matched, which is kind of good. Now, because it's such a large piece, I can't even really score it, so I'm just using my finger, and then I'm going to use my score tool. And because this is Hunky Dory's adorable scoreable, you won't get any cracking, even though you've got this lovely coating on the card, so that's really great as well. So then, as you can see, I folded that one. Now I'm just chopping off the excess to make it an 8x8 card, and unusually I'm actually going to have this as a side folding card. Now the reason I did that was because it was actually going to be a different design on the inside than I ended up doing, and that would have worked better, but so it actually in the end didn't matter which way it was. So now I'm just cutting my papers that I've chosen to the size, so this will be about 8 and sort of 7 and 7/8, and then 7 3/4 for those 2 sheets. So you can see that lovely floral pattern there is actually like a linen. It's a really lovely piece of card. And then all I'm going to do now is just go around all of the sheets and distress the edges. Now you may think that that's like a Tim Holtz distress tool. It is actually an embroidery no scissor cutter, and it works just as well, and frankly it probably doesn't cost as much. So I found that was a good tool for distressing the edges. Now I wanted to have some pieces cut in to the piece that's on top so that you could see the pattern underneath a little bit more as well. So rather than literally ripping it, I cut some pieces out, and then I'm going around with the distresser embroidery tool thing and just distressing those bits even more, just to make it look like they've kind of naturally torn. So there it is, and I think that's come out really well. And at the moment, I always think distressed stuff always looks really scruffy at this point, and it's like, oh my goodness, what have I done? But I think it's coming out, it's going to look good, and you can see that, you can just see that lovely floral peeking out from underneath, which is really what I was trying to achieve. And then I've done the same on the little boy's card, and you can see that I've done the next layer as well, which, so there's actually 3 mats on this. So I've just done that, but then I realised I was covering up my little tears, so I'm going to just line it up and put the same tear into the one above, which obviously wouldn't really naturally happen, but it doesn't really matter, it's about how it looks, and I think that will look great. And then we'll just distress that up. Don't forget, of course, that it doesn't need to be as deep because it's starting out from a slightly lower position because you've cut it smaller. So then just match it up, make sure it's working okay. And I thought that teddy bear paper was just absolutely adorable. And then I've done the same on the little girls one, and you can see there's something similar, but they're not absolutely the same, which is really nice. So it's sort of the same ideas, but they're not identical in that, you know, one's pink, one's blue, but they're absolutely identical. So it's just slight changes, which is really nice. So then I'm gluing it all together using my trusty Cosmic Shimmer. My most favourite is glue, that and Pin Flare glue gels, but at the moment I have got no Pin Flare. I've ordered some actually, it's coming. I can't believe it, but my last couple of tubes that I had, I'd left them while I was doing this stuff for sorting into the lodge. I'd left them out and it had got in the sun, and I was like, oh no. So they were pretty solid. They were still usable actually in emergency, but they weren't brilliant. So I just thought, let's order some more, because I'm a little bit concerned about how well they'll keep stuck. So anyway, just gluing all these layers down. Now I'm trying not to go too close to the edges, because it is meant to be distressed, so I don't want them to be like perfectly stuck down at those edges. I want it to look a little bit more kind of rough and ready. And then just making sure that we can see all those mats, because that's such pretty card, and it's just a shame otherwise to cover it up. And I think you just get enough of it to see what each one is doing. And the same with our little boy here. And you can just see the lovely blue of the base card as well at the edge, so that looks really nice. And so there they both are, those 2 layers, or 3 layers rather, on each one complete. So now we're taking my Sue Wilson Fillables jeweled hearts, and I'm cutting out the lovely decorative filigree piece. I don't know what you'd call it, but the lovely decorative element that's the outside of the heart. And I'm using another piece of patterned paper from the pack. All my patterns are coming from that one pack. And then I'm also adding the single layer heart into the center there to create the aperture in the center of our little decorative heart piece there, so that it actually does have a hole basically. And then I'm popping that through, and you can see again there's the opposite side of that double-sided paper. I do flip before I take the lids off. I always flip over my clear mats just to check if I possibly can see it, that it has cut through okay, which this did. It actually cut out really nicely. I'm just bashing it here, not because I couldn't get it out, but because I wanted to try and get as much of the loose pieces loose as I could. And as you can see, it didn't work too badly, because most of them had in fact gone, and the rest I was able to just pop out with my fingernails. And that is our lovely decorative piece. And then I would have cut the same in the baby girls. So then I'm going back to my mats and layers here, and I'm just using my little baby sewing machine. This is the one that I only use for crafting. I don't mix them, because you can blunt your blade on your blade. I'm thinking like the cricket. You can blunt your needle, so it's best to try and either use a different needle or whatever, but it's better not to try and mix it up, because you'll get it will ruin your fabrics when you sew. So then we've just sewn those layers together and gone around all of that, and we've done the same for our baby girl. I think that looks really cool actually. I don't do that often enough, and now I've got into the lodge I'm able to sort of access things a lot better, and so I've been able to sort of do things a bit differently. So you can see there the baby girl's heart, that sort of design there that I cut out, and I have also added to it the little fillable treat cup as they call it, and just pop that in to see what I'm doing. And then I'm basically was positioning the decorative heart in order that I could position the little heart here, so that I can create a further aperture into these 3 layers, because what I need to do is put the treat cup from underneath these layers, so that the edges of the treat cup don't show when I stick, you know, when it's put in position. So I needed to make sure that I cut that through first. To be honest, I didn't actually think of that until I was sort of playing around with it. And I suddenly thought, oh, you can actually see the edges, so I'll need to cut that through. And now you can see the little treat cup. It's got these little edges there, and then you just pop it through. And actually, in the end I actually prefer it anyway. And then you just pop that over the top there. You know, again, with this you don't need that extra decorative piece around the heart. If you didn't want to, you could leave that plain and just cut the aperture for the treat cup. And then I've done the same there for the little boys cards, so we've got both. And I have to say, considering I was just sort of guessing both of them, they ended up pretty identical. So now we're going to be doing some work on the papers here, and we're going to be doing some texture paste. And I've got Graceful Pink and Frosty Blossom and a Tim Holtz sort of swirly one. I don't know what it's called. They don't seem to put names on it anywhere that I could see, but it's a very nice sort of swirly, leafy design. I have to say, it didn't come out as well as I hoped. It was good enough because I knew it was going to get covered on the whole. It was only going to be a little bit of it that showed. I don't know what I did, because normally I do this pretty well, but it just didn't seem quite as crisp. I mean, it's pretty good. It was just a little bit down the bottom, seemed a little bit kind of mushy, so I probably should have stuck it down a bit more than I had. Maybe that would have helped. But normally I don't, and it's fine. So maybe it's because there were so many layers and it was slightly wobbly, so it wasn't 100% flat. So the and you can see it more on this one. It is really mushy in the corner there, and I used Frosted Sky, which looks so pretty, isn't it? But it's just a little bit more mushy in the corner. But again, it doesn't really matter because I was going to cover it anyway. So you can see what I mean there, just a little bit smushy, but not a big deal. Now I started off, as you see here, I'm sticking down my treat cups using my glossy accents. However, I didn't in the end like it, and I actually went back and did the second one and redid this one using my pin flare glue gel. It just wasn't quite sticking, because again, and I think maybe this was the reason that the texture paste didn't go down as well as I liked, it did have some differences where the paper had been moved and distressed and everything, and so it did keep popping up because the paper wasn't 100% flat. So I decided to go back and just re-stick that, and as I said, I had some of the pin flare, but it was just a little bit thick, but it worked fine and good enough for what I needed. So then with another little piece of paper here, I cut out a heart to go inside the aperture here. Now had I thought about this more sensibly, I would have put this down before I put the treat cup in. Basically, you could then just line up your piece of paper there with the aperture, pop the little heart through the aperture so it was in the right place, sticking it down, and then you wouldn't have to fiddle about moving it. But because I used my Cosmic Shimmer glue and it was on the hunky dory, it had plenty of time to slip and slide, and it wasn't going to show, so it's not a major deal, but it might have been easier to do that before I put the treat cup in, had I thought about it. So now I've got these little baby charms, sort of plastic charms here, and I'm going to pop those into the little treat cup here. So I've got a little safety pin in the pink, obviously, and then I'm getting a little tiny baby's bottle, which is just too cute. And then probably my most favourite thing was the little baby's dummy. It was just adorable. So they came as mixed colours, or you could get them as pink. 100, all of them in the pack were pink and all of them were blue, and you could do it that way. Here's the little dummy, so cute. But I decided to get the mixed pack because I only needed 1 or 2 out of it, and I thought it would give me more options later, and also I only need to buy 1 pack then for both the boy and the girl, so I thought that would work much better. So then I've added lots of foam tape all the way around the aperture and obviously across the card as well, and I did it a double layer. Had I had a thicker foam, then that would have been better, but I didn't, so I just doubled it up. And then, as always, when I'm using foam tape, I always add a little squirt of my Cosmic Shimmer because it just makes it stick better. Foam tapes, glue just tend to come undone when it's in the heat, and I know that these are cards that will be kept. The nursery card, for instance, has even been framed. My understanding, I don't know the people it went to, I know the lady that I made it for that was giving the card, and she told me that that was framed and put up on the walls, so I'm sure that these will be kept as well if that's anything to go by. So I wanted to be really sure that it stayed stuck and would stay stuck for a good lifetime, you know, as long as it was left relatively alone. It shouldn't be a problem. All glue eventually, I guess, will degrade, but you can only do the best you can do. So now you can see I've just done both the boy and the girl, and I've just got one of each of those things in there. The little dummy was probably, I could have done with putting another layer of foam, to be honest, because it didn't really move around, the dummy, but I wasn't too worried about it. I didn't really want it to be too much higher, to be honest. I didn't really want it to look like there was a lot of depth, but if you did want those to move around, you may want to either get thicker foam or more layers. So you can see there I'm just adding the little decorative piece around the heart there, and I just think that looks absolutely lovely. So now we're going across to some little decorative chipboard elements. These are some different ones. Now nearly all of these things I literally purchased specifically for these cards. I didn't have anything really of this stuff was in stock. I certainly didn't have any chipboard, the little plastic charms, even the paper pads I had to purchase. I just didn't have anything suitable that really inspired me for what I wanted to do. I just didn't have anything even in papers, to be honest. So as you can see here, I'm just cutting across this piece. To be honest, I was a little bit nervous, not the actual cutting, but you can only guess that where you're cutting is going to achieve what you want, and so I was hoping that it would fit around my heart by doing this, and I sort of lined it up above it to try and sort of see that that would look about the right place to cut, but it was kind of a bit of a risk and a guess, and I was like, oh, this is the only two I've got and I needed one for each card, so I was slightly nervous, but I figured, well, if it's totally wrong, we'll make it work somehow, or we'll just not use it. But it was a little bit nerve-wracking, to be honest. And then I've got these gorgeous little sentiments in chipboard as well. One says Baby Miracle and the other one says A Little Angel, and I just thought that was really adorable. And I liked the fact that the sentiment was of the chipboard, and so it had a little bit more oomph to it, you know, a little bit more weight. So I'm starting off here by painting them up using white. I just wanted to get a good base layer and make sure all the edges that are dark were painted up. Now I'm using some lovely Decorative acrylic paints. This is a pearl pink, and I'm painting up the little baby girl stuff, obviously, in that pearl pink. And I think that looks really nice, but you'll see I actually then go back with a mix of a darker one, because when I lined it up against the card, I just didn't feel it was quite the right colour, so it just sort of blended too much in the background. And the blue here again is actually mixing a lovely bit pale blue and a couple of drops of a darker blue, just to give a little bit more depth to the colour. And there it is finished. I think that looks really nice. And obviously the thing about this is you need to prepare, because you need obviously for it to have time to dry. So then I've got some little bottles, and I've got these little mixed beads and sequins sort of thing that I had in one of my glass jars. If you've watched my lodge videos, you would have seen I have drawers with glass jars of charms, sequins, glitter, all sorts of different things. And one of the things that I have a few of in different colours is a mixture that I basically put together where I had odds and ends that sort of didn't fill up anything, and I thought it would be fun to make a mix. So that's what we did here, and I've just put it in the little bottle. And then I took some of my glossy accents, put it around the lid there, and stuck that down. Now as you see, I'm repainting the blue again. I wasn't happy with the colour, it was a little bit dark, and I also wanted to add glitter in the end. I decided that I would like to do that, and you'll see it looks quite a greeny glitter, but with the tone of the blue behind, with that sort of greeny tone. It went really well with the card base. It kind of picked up all the colours on there, so I was really pleased with that. And I love how it came out, the glitteriness of it. I think that was really nice. And personally, I wouldn't worry that you're doing that on a baby boy. I don't think it matters. And then I've done the same here on the baby girl, and you can see the pink glitter underneath my hands, and you can see how that's come out. It looks so pretty. So then I'm leaving that to dry, and while that is drying, I am putting some pearl swirls on my card. I've taken one of those pearl swirls, cut it in half, and then I'm just positioning it down. The best way with this is to try as best you can to let it flop. Stick one bit down and then sort of pick the next bit up, let it find its natural place, and then pop that down. Then do the same with the next element. Now, just to say that I have speeded up some of this video because otherwise it would have been crazy long. I mean, I think I've speeded up this main section of application by about 4 times, so you can imagine just how much longer it would be had I not done so. So here we're just applying some gorgeous sort of lace ribbon, and I just was cutting that obviously to size. I'm using my hot glue gun. Now you'll see that piece of ribbon there had a bit of creasing in it. Normally I would just run that through my hair straighteners to just straighten that down, but it didn't need it. I know I'm going to be covering it with various things, so it wasn't a problem. Now I purchased these little charms. It says 2017 and then baby girl with a little pink jewel in it, and I've done the same for the baby boy. I'm just clipping it on to, it's got like a little clip, like a necklace clip, and I'm just clipping it onto some twine there so it will slide up and down. However, I don't want it to slide up and down, so I've just knotted it in position, and then I'm just gluing that down, and also a lovely piece of sequin trim as well, so that little charm will hang down. And I'm trying as much as possible to put things that have meaning and that are sort of a sentimental kind of value perhaps for them in the future. So I thought that was a nice little kind of gentle nod to obviously the fact that it's a baby girl, but also the year. And just to say, by the way, these are twins, which is why I'm doing 2 cards. So here is our lovely chipboard hearts, and as you can see now why I cut them how I did, just to put them around that heart there. And we're just again using my hot glue to pop them down. I do quite like using this. It's such an instant sort of gratification with it, to be honest, and it really sticks pretty much anything where it needs to be. So then I've got these gorgeous pearl bead twiny things, I don't know what they're called, and they come in a bag. Well, the ones I got did, and they were sort of naturally in this sort of curled up sort of format, so when I put them on, it was really easy to get them to stay in that kind of rounded way and just sort of spread them out that way, and it worked really well. And I find these a nice base to go under flowers and things because they just peek out at different points and they just look really effective. So I just stuck those down using the hot glue. I just caught a few key points with the pearls just to make sure they were stuck. You don't want to stick every single one down. It looks quite effective, and as long as it's not going to fall off the card or flap around, it will be fine. So as you can see, I have now added some flowers. I'm just positioning them at this point, and then I had this gorgeous sort of looped pearl, I don't know what you'd call it, like a twig really, and then also the same here with some crystal ones. So I've just put 2 of those at the top there. The crystal ones aren't looped, they're just kind of like lots of loose pieces, sort of like twigs really. And so I'm just sticking both of those down in position, just the actual stick part of them, and as you can see I'm sticking some of my flowers down now as well. So I've cut some of them, the little stalks I've cut off, and some where I want them to sort of slide down the side there, I've kept the stalk in because it means I can stick the little stalk of the flower rather than the flower itself. And I find it's quite nice to not always stick the actual flower head. It just gives a nicer look, or a different look perhaps is better to say. So we're just grabbing some more here. I can't quite see what I'm doing. Oh yes, here we go. Just grabbing some down the bottom there, which is slightly off camera, sorry about that. We just got some gorgeous little tulip style flowers there and a beautiful little pink poppy. So we're just going to stick those down. I kind of position things and then add some hot glue, sort of pull it out, add the hot glue and stick it down as best as I can. And you can see how that pearl stuff is just poking out different places and how pretty that looks. Now I've got a little stick pin, a lovely little crystal stick pin, and that looks really effective. And then I've got these lovely little white sort of, I don't know what they are, but they're gorgeous little flowers, and I'm just popping those in there just again to soften the line between the main area of the flower and the actual card itself. And you also notice there I've added another little stick pin. This has got like a cluster of like tiny little stones and stuff on it. It's really cute and it's in the pink and it looks really effective. And I also just stuck down a little bit more of the pearls there because it wasn't quite sticking, it was a bit flappy. And then I've got this gorgeous little bundle of like stamens, I guess. I don't really know what they are, but I thought they were really cute, so I just popped those in there. And it's really just about getting different types of flowers. I've got a lovely selection. These are all from Wild Orchid, so a really nice collection here. So I just sort of grabbed what I wanted, tried to work out where to put them, and then started gluing them. And you can just see, I was going to say, you can see my little, there we go, you can see the little crystals there poking up the top. So I haven't actually stuck the top of them down because I don't want that to be stuck. I just want to have them having that movement. And then we're just sticking a little bundle here. You can see how I wrapped two together using the wires just to wrap them together. Sometimes that just makes them stick together a bit easier. And then we've got another little one just there, just to again soften it going up and around where those lovely crystals are. And then some of the little tulips going up there as well. So we want to look as if they're coming from the bottom, but obviously their stalks aren't quite long enough, so you have to disguise the ends of them by popping them underneath the other flowers and making it look like they're coming from all the way down there. And I think that looks really effective. It just softens it up around that corner there. And now we're adding these little leaves. I've got these gorgeous little silver leaves. A bit of glue just blobbed at the side, but the beauty of the hot glue is it kind of, if you catch it before it, not while it's boiling hot, but before it completely sets, you can pull it off, so it's okay. So then we've got another silver foil leaf there, and then one more in the corner at the bottom. Now I've got some other little elements and charms. So I've got this gorgeous little silver spoon. Again, all of these I had to purchase specifically for these cards. This little panda I'm putting down the bottom there. Just little details really to make it interesting, and everywhere you look there's something hiding or popping out, and it just makes it fun and interesting to look around the card and see what you can find, and every time you look you'll be finding something extra. So we've added that little bottle down there, and then another one of the little plastic charms that I had is this gorgeous little rocking horse, and originally I was thinking it would go inside the treat cup, but clearly it's much bigger than that, so I popped it down here and I thought it looked really nice. And again, it's not like really in your face obvious, but it's just, you know, if you look about you'll find it. So here is I'm putting a flower up the top and also a double heart charm. Now, as I said, these are twins, so again I'm trying to put things that might have some value and meaning, and I thought the intertwined hearts had, you know, for the twins was something a bit special. So then we've added a bow and a little dazzler on top of the bow in the center there, again just using my hot glue to add all that in. And then we want to add our sentiment, so just popping that down with the hot glue, making sure there's any little loose bits are coming off. So there is finished, well, finished in the sense that all the elements are stuck down. So now we're going to soften the colour off. Sometimes what you do is, if you add some white paint, just sort of brushing it over your flowers, it just blends those down a little bit and stops it being quite so bright. Now you could also do it across your little charms if you wanted to. I didn't. I just wanted to gently soften those colours down, but not crazily so. So now I'm cutting some papers into just under 8 inches, about 1/8 of an inch down, and that's for the inside of our card. So you can see I've got 2 sheets here I've cut. So we've got this lovely shoes paper, which was in the heart that we had on the front of the card, and then I'm using the lovely dots, which we also had on the front of the card, so it's still bringing those elements forward. I also then found this beautiful vellum with these lovely iridescent butterflies on, so I decided to put this in there by just putting a line of tape across the top, just then sticking that down only at the top, so it's almost like a loose insert across the top there, and I just think that looks so attractive, and you can see that beautiful pink paper coming through, and I just think that looks so lovely. Now, to hide the tape mark, which will show, even if it doesn't show now, it will show when it gets older, I did add a piece of ribbon across the top. The other thing I decided to do, I had these little prams. I had 2, one obviously for each card originally, however I didn't use them as I was expecting, so I decided to use them on the inside. So I painted them just lightly with the white. I didn't want to go too mad because it lost some of the detail, and then I popped it onto that insert, and I just think that looked really effective. And you can see also the ribbon there with a few little pearlescent beads, so I think that looks really nice, and that is our baby girl card all complete. So here we are with our little boy card, and again pretty much the same, so I will leave you to watch that with a bit of music.
You are the icing on my cake, you are the smile I can't replace. You are the way you smile, the way you laugh, the way I can't help but catch your joy, your joy. Metaphorically, this song just says one thing: I love you. That's what I'm telling you. Oh, and there's no irony because I see what I mean. I love you. I love you. You are the minutes of my time, your inspiration to this rhyme. You are the apple of my eye, the sweet sunshine in the sky. You are, and metaphorically, this song just says one thing: I love you. That's what I'm telling you. Oh, and there's no irony because I see what I mean. I love you. I love you. fantasy. We could be anything. Saw your face in my dream. You and I had everything. A fairy tale, a fantasy. We could be. We're picture perfect, sweet eye candy. I'll be your girl, yeah, I'll be your baby. Picture perfect, barefoot beauty. You stole my heart, just like in a movie. Got the key to me. Tell me, I'm your darling Daisy. Picture perfect, sweet eye candy. I'll be your girl, yeah, I'll be your baby. I'll be your baby. Just like in a movie. Got the key to me. Tell me, I'm your darling Daisy. Picture perfect, sweet eye candy. I'll be your girl, yeah, I'll be your baby. I feel the magic in the air tonight. We're shining brighter than a neon sky. I'm begging, baby, yeah, you know it's time. Come on and tell me you love me. Tell me you love me. Never met a boy like you. I'm holding on to everything you do. I wanna know it. Do you feel it too? Come on and tell me you love me. Tell me you love me. Like every night. You make me blush, what a rush, so 16. I got a crush, can I be your queen? Could be your touch, pick me up, you get me. I got a hunch that you're all I need. You got me in a trance, I lost all my defense. It only takes a glance. You know I'm more than chance, a sweet and love romance. The stars align and dance. Feel the magic in the air tonight. We're shining brighter than a neon sky. I'm begging, baby, yeah, you know it's time. Come on and tell me you love me. Tell me you love me. Never met a boy like you. I'm holding on to everything you do. I wanna know it. Do you feel it too? Come on and tell me you love me. Tell me you love me. Like every night. I can't forget when I met your brown eyes. I was a wreck, total mess, oh my. You were a light in the night, you saved me. You made it right, now I'm
Okay, so that's that one finished, and you can see now I'm just adding some pattern paper to the back of the cards. I'm doing this on the baby boy, and I did the same on the baby girl, and here is the baby boy card finished, and I think it looks stunning, even if I do say so myself. And here is our little girl's card, all finished as well. So I was really pleased with how that came out, and here's the inside of it. Isn't that pretty? I love that vellum there. It's so gorgeous. And I like how the card is kind of the same but not the same. As it happens, I did change the ribbon at the top. I wasn't very happy with that. Oh, and here's the back of our baby girl card. Now I realised that I needed to make a box to put these cards in, so we're just showing you here the baby boy, and in order for it to fit, it's an 8-inch card, but in order for it to fit comfortably you want to make the card box an 1/8 bigger than that, so you want an 8-inch and 1/8 by 8-inch and 1/8 size box, and then the lid needs to be, when finished, 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So what I did was I cut the base at 11 1/8 and scored at 1.5 inches, and the lid I cut at 11 1/4 and scored also at 1.5 inches. So that just made that slight difference in the size. I then folded that over the edges and used my score tool to fold them down. I then cut little snips into the sides, as you saw, and that made little flaps that would fold nicely. I put the red tape on because that's really strong. You could use your Cosmic Shimmer, that would also work really well. You might want to use like a little paper clip to make sure it stayed in place, but either will work great. And then all I do is I just fold those sides a little bit extra once it's cut, once it's made, just to make sure it's nice and crisp. And there is our boxes made. And you saw also that because the paper was double-sided, the two sheets that I chose, you had a lovely pattern on both sides, so as they opened up the card box you could see the lovely pattern on the inside as well. You'll also notice that there's a strip of card across the front. That was one of those strips that I cut off the edge of the piece of card when I was cutting it to size, and I thought, oh, I may as well use it, and then I added just a flower on the top using my hot glue gun. I knew these were going to be hand delivered, so I didn't have to worry too much about it at all. That is it for today. I hope you've enjoyed making these two cards with me, and I hope you like the finished results as much as my lady who commissioned me did. She was absolutely thrilled, and I'm hoping that if she's thrilled, that the lady that she's giving them to, the mama-to-be, will also be thrilled. So now don't forget, if you're on YouTube, to go to the paragraph below this video, click show more, and click on the link to the corresponding blog post, where there will be tons of photographs of these finished cards. I've took loads. I can't put them all on the video, so I've just put a couple at the end of the video, so do make sure that you go across and take a look at those. I will also have links to as much of the products as I possibly can for you, so you can see exactly what it was that I used. So thank you so much for watching. As I say, I hope you enjoyed. I'd love to hear your comments, but otherwise for now, see you again soon, and bye. Bye.